very interesting opportunity. Welcome back, Troglodytes, to your daily dose of guitar information, the Trogly's Guitar Show. Look what Diablo Guitars found, a Bill Kelliher Halcyon prototype Les Paul. If you're not familiar with that artist, he's from Mastodon. He's had at least 2 signature guitars with Gibson, the Golden Axe, which is a Goldburst Explorer, and the Halcyon Les Pauls. He and Gibson split on not so good terms, so perhaps there could have been more one day, but that's all we ended up getting. We just recently talked about the history of the Goldburst / Harvest Gold coloring in this episode here, so seeing one of the prototypes being signed by Bill, that made me quite excited, so I clicked on it. We see the regular look here. It's just a Goldburst with kind of a blackish edge. Has a freshly swept out case. Is that where the differences end? Well, I wouldn't be making this video if that was true. Look what they were planning. It was gonna have the Norland era burst on the back of the body. It was gonna have it on the neck, including our headstock. And judging by this photo, maybe even on the edges of the burst. Man, I wish that would have happened. Because normally I'd be all for a Goldburst Les Paul, but the stock factory ones just had a black back and I always felt that was such a missed opportunity. I'm so happy to know that Bill probably wanted this, but Gibson might have talked him out of it. Or maybe he changed his mind, I don't know. But this prototype made me incredibly happy. Because prototypes can be worth a lot of money if they have something vastly different and or more cool than the production runs. If you wanted to buy one of these Les Pauls today, a regular one, the shop's asking $4 grand, although usually you're in the $2 to $3K range. But this one was listed at $8,000 and it did not last more than a couple of days. And in this case, I totally think a 3 to 4 times premium was 100% justifiable to an end user. Because look at that, he even signed the back of the headstock on top of the pick guard. And knowing this shop's history, it wouldn't surprise me if Bill actually sold them that guitar. But about a week before that, Diablo came up with this great piece. It was a Les Paul XR1 from 1982 in a Silverburst color. $2,500 did not seem too bad. I had to message Parker on this one, but we were just a little bit too far apart because I would have rather have had the original case and everything. But the XR series, it stands for Extended Range. It was the pre-studio model. There's the XR1, the XR2, and the XR3. The XR1, like this one, featured the Dirty Fingers humbuckers with a coil split option stock from the factory. The XR2 had the Firebird style mini humbuckers, and then the XR3 was the Tim Shaw PAFs. Before 1983, they introduced the Studio and Tim Shaw Stay Standard. And there's actually a famous user of the XR1, Steve Clark, but he's known for the Goldburst example. So having Silverburst, that is kind of cool, especially because this one has not aged too much at all. I thought the $2,500 asking price was completely fair, but just a little bit more than I was looking to spend that particular day, but I'm glad I was able to find a happy home. The thing that really pushed me over the edge to wait though is I hate it when this happens, the finish chipping occurring around the tuners. It's natural, it does happen in this era unfortunately, and I probably shouldn't have let it scare me away, but I did. Oh well, it's got a ding back here too. It also had the seam line showing. I knew that would have bugged me, but hey, at least this shop disclosed it. But here's another one that was a near miss. I had a pretty decent deal set up on this one. The seller and I were going back and forth a lot, and I thought we were going to create a deal, but then they decided to take my last offer as a, if I don't get anything better within 24 hours, I'll take it. And unfortunately, somebody beat my offer within that time frame. But we talked about these not too long ago. This is a Les Paul Custom Florentine, or at least I thought it was. If we go to the serial number, this is actually within the Bantam Elite series, because it's a 1995. So very early days of them chambering out a Les Paul, putting the F-holes on it. But what made this one so unique is it's got this kind of strange, smoky, grayish color. It's kind of hard to put what color were they going for. Is it trans black that's just aged a lot because we've got the ambered lacquer? Or is it like initially a blue that's really bleached out? That can happen. The other thing that caught my attention is 3 humbuckers. You don't normally see that. And then if you come down here, you've got a mini toggle switch. And hey, wait a minute. Hold the phone. I'm seeing this for the first time. It's got a custom truss rod cover on it. It almost looks like it says DC Mary Supreme, but that doesn't look like the usual Gibson quality. But anyways, back to our mini toggle switch. I didn't know. Was this modified or is that factory stock original? I mean, I can see all the wiring here. So the offer I was making was assuming this had a middle humbucker routed into it and somebody added a switch to do something. This was one of those high risk, high reward type situations because if it happened to be factory stock and original, that would have been a really nice addition to my collection. But it looks like somebody put Schaller strap locks on it. It looks like we're gonna have the fret nib gap, as is common in this era. Usually an easy way to tell a middle pickup has been added are the pickup rings don't exactly match, but those are looking good. I had pretty high hopes that this just was a weird factory custom one-off, but unfortunately, we'll never know. I suppose at the same time it was a brand new seller, so whoever even bought it might not even actually gotten it, because their description just said excellent condition, fretboards mint. We didn't have anything to go off of. Maybe it'll show up another day. But speaking of show up another day, look at this Flying V Custom. So if my memory's serving me correctly, the first Flying V Custom that looks semi-wet similar to this was introduced in 2002. So this is a 2003 example with a beautiful figured maple top. When I saw this listed, I was like, yep, no way that's lasting more than like a day or two. The price didn't seem too bad, $6,500. And miraculously, after 20 years, it was really good condition. It just had the yellowing of the lacquer. However, possible it could have started that way too. But then you get to the back, it's that nice cherry color. They do make them like this today, but finding them in the early 2000s like this, that is a pretty nice oddity. In the description, they said it was a custom order one-off. So whoever picked this one up and added it to your collection, congratulations, that is a fantastic piece. Unfortunately, Flying V Customs don't get a lot of love nowadays. However, Paul Stanley has been getting some good use out of these out on tour. If you missed this debacle, I actually sold one to him and he had modified it, and he had a few of them within his arsenal, but he recently sold the one that he played at this very last concert to Matt's Guitar Shop. I'm curious what his serial number is, whether that was my old guitar or not. Speaking of another knockout, here's one listed by Paul Fraley's Guitarsenal. So we documented the Les Paul 25 in this episode. And even though I wasn't necessarily in love with that particular Flametop, I have warmed up to it. This one was listed for $8,500, but on the back of the headstock, it was listed as a NAMM 2007 guitar. Now, it was labeled as number 6. That could have been, it was the 6th guitar build to go to NAMM. It could have been like number 6 prototype of the 25. We're not exactly too sure at this time. Honestly, I think it was just the 6th guitar as part of the batch. But this one had a great headstock veneer, flamed, Les Paul 25 still on the truss rod cover, brass nut still looking in great shape. And this had the kind of top I was looking for. It was a little bit more wavy. It's got more of a story to it, but at the same time, not having a serial number, it's like, maybe I should keep the production run in my collection. But for me, I loved the back on this one. Lots of grain, but the rings are so big it continues off the blank of the body. So this is one I probably should have picked up and documented, but it looks like it's found another home. But I'm happy to at least share it here. Next up, we have an interesting CME spec custom ordered guitar at a relatively fair price for a custom shop. So it's a wrap tail with a P90 and a humbucker combination and looks like a little bit of relicking. It's either that or somebody just dinged the top up, but that's just such a cool combination you don't see every day. It's not exactly the Jeff Beck Les Paul, but you get a little bit of like BFG elements blent into it, which is the more economical way to get a similar guitar with a P90 in the neck and the humbucker in the bridge. Otherwise, it's just built as a 54 custom, but strangely, I'm not seeing any other aging on this. Okay, maybe a little bit more dings on the headstock. And whoa, okay, just out of nowhere, all the finish checking on the back. But interesting, they build it as an ultra light aging. I don't know about you guys, but if I personally ordered a light aged Les Paul and it came with dings on the top like that, I'd be kind of upset, because I assume the light aging just means you've got the finish checking and that's it. But here was another oddity that showed up on Reverb. In the mid to late 80s, they bring back the Les Paul Jr., the Les Paul Special, and lesser known, the SG Jr. But to differentiate them, they gave them the ABR1 stop bar tailpiece setup instead of the wrap tail pieces, which makes them less historically accurate, but awesome for a player who wants to finely tune the intonation of their instrument. So they've become kind of sought after for that reason, even if they don't feel exactly the same. But you don't see the SG Junior variation show up too often, so that's why I wanted to share this Ebony one, because overall it actually appeared to be in pretty good shape, outside of somebody moving our strap button. They're probably trying to find a way to make it balance better, but they eventually decided to bring it back down there. And it's got the common late 80s, early 90s headstock delamination happening. It's nothing really to worry about. Worst case scenario, you have to refinish the face of the headstock. Just get photos of it beforehand so people know why you did that when that later shows up in a blacklight test. But it looks like the seller even did a fantastic job cleaning up those frets. Most sellers don't take the time to do that. but it was offered in this gig bag and was listed at $1,200, which was not a bad price for one of those. Here's another one I regret not buying right away. So it was listed as mint 1979 Gibson Les Paul, and at $1,400, that was well worth it. I typically pay $2,000 for the absolute minty Les Pauls out there. It's just people's definition of mint varies, and I wanted a little bit more photos from this seller before I bought it. But this was very fast paced. You had to make a decision, and that particular day I decided I would need more information. Although, looking back on here, you can tell the satin finish has not been disturbed, at least on the body. Plastic is still on the back plate. It's a nice 1979 serial number. Now, whether some of it would have been glossed up or there are some scratches, that still would have been a great addition because I don't have a clean Les Paul yet. I've got that Minty NOS Firebrand, but still looking for that Les Paul. And oh, I did not see that. I missed this one. It's got the spotlight running up and down it. Occasionally you will find that. It reminds me of the spotlight specials. Yep. Should have pulled the trigger. So whoever bought that, if you want to make a cool $600, let me know. Assuming the condition actually ended up working out. Suppose while we're on the topic, Nationwide has one that they're saying has a figured walnut body. That's actually a nice 2-piece one. You can find them between 2 and 5 pieces. This one's got interesting figuring. It kind of reminds me of my reissue one, but this one's got like wider flame. You do not see that very often on a vintage one. So I can understand why they're asking a bit of a premium, even if it has been played. And then lastly for tonight, a Les Paul Studio with an ebony fretboard. It was listed as a 93 or 94. Okay, so if you read it like this, 93. But if you actually try to read the serial number like that, you're gonna be like, what's the 401st day of the year? There's only a maximum of 366 days in a year. So you have to know in 1994, it was year production number. So that is 100% in 1994. Other than that, it came with this cool HD6X Pro case. So even though those things look like robot guitars, that's not exactly what they were. It was more so to get like a pure recording sound. One day I'll have to check them out. But I thought, hey, that's kind of a cool case. Nice blue interior. It's got really nice latches. However, it looks kind of like soft case-like material on the outside with like the additional foam on the interior. I mean, look how much padding there is there. The description states he paid $400 for this thing. You don't find that case separate too often, but that ebony with that sapphire interior just looked fantastic. But that's gonna wrap things up for tonight, my friends. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you tomorrow on the next one. Take care. If you enjoyed tonight's episode, consider subscribing. I post videos like this every day, and you might even enjoy this next one.